Joe, you have got some very interesting stats supporting some recent videos we have done. First, let's talk about your NFL outrushing teams. In your article and our video, you explained to play teams who outrush their opponent by 30 or more yards. How did that work out in week 2, Joe?
This week, week 2 of the NFL, this is an important time to look at it because the starter's now playing into the second quarter. Teams who outrush their opponent by 30 or more yards, 8-2 against the spread, 80%, of course, that is just a little bit higher than the millennium average of 75% against the spread when one NFL team outrushes the other.
All right, now, Joe, speaking of running game, you also told our viewers that they need to play any NFL team who runs the ball 30 or more times per game if their opponent does not. And you also put out an extensive article on fading any NFL team who runs the ball 22 or less times per game if their opponent does not. Did either of these methods work for us in week 2 as well, Joe?
These fortunately turned out to be true as well, giving us some great confidence going ahead with the regular season and how to use these angles. They were a perfect 6-0 and a perfect 5-0, of course, going hand in glove most times with most of the teams who outrush their opponent by 30 or more yards a game. So yes, the running game is alive and well in the NFL.
So on your running game analysis alone, Joe, we went 19-2. Now, we are running out of time here, but Joe, from the rest of your observations from week 2, what really stuck out to you most?
Well, here's an interesting one, and I spoke about it a couple times in articles I wrote about the individual games. But in the early weeks of the NFL, I always like to look at the teams who were greater than 500 last year but did not make the playoffs. They oftentimes have a little bit of a chip on their shoulder. And these teams, the first 2 weeks of NFL preseason, have gone a combined 8-2 straight up in ATS. Again, those are winning teams who did not make the playoffs last year. There were 5 of them, 4-1 each of the first 2 weeks. That's a good one to keep your eye on.
That's excellent, Joe. So moving forward into week 3, we should definitely be using these to our advantage, right?
I think you can certainly look at those along with the teams who are 0-2, playing against teams who are 2-0. 2-0 teams are very satisfied so far. 0-2 teams have something to prove. And of course, week 3 being dress rehearsal, we'll see most of the team's best players for a predominant portion of the game.
Guys, you can check out Joe's entire breakdown and analysis of the trends he found from week 2 of the preseason in the links in the article below this video. And for Joe's best picks for the action this weekend, keep it locked right here with us at Sportsbook Review.